deciding on a new building, it was acknowledged by administration and council the town hall would not be big enough to support the storage of equipment and our entire DPW fleet, as well as resident parking, employee parking, and police department vehicles. I can assure the public that administration and council work collaboratively to solve this problem simultaneously while designing the building. It was also acknowledged by administration and council that if the building was to be built at Town Hall, we would need a location to temporarily relocate DPW operations and equipment / vehicle storage. Mayor Calamari and I, along with our engineers, personally visited all vacant township-owned properties on multiple occasions. None of the township-owned properties were suitable for storing equipment, sustaining temporary operations, nor suitable for a permanent DPW building or DPW yard. Each parcel of township-owned property was either too small, in a flood zone, or restricted by wetlands or a riparian zone. Mayor Calamari and I vetted the suitability of purchasing privately owned property within the township for a permanent location of DPW and/or temporary. Several properties were brought to discussion with the council in closed sessions. Several closed session discussions occurred concerning this topic. I understand that may give the perception of non-transparency. However, please understand and appreciate it was a necessity because it involved negotiations. The council ultimately decided that the costs associated with the land purchases and site improvements would be too costly. Mayor Calamari and I visited both Sherry Field and the property known as the Swim Club on Lidred Boulevard North to evaluate the possibility of temporary operations and storage. Both properties are owned by the township. Sherry Field was purchased with money funded by the Green Acres program, and the Swim Club was purchased with assistance from the Bergen County Open Space Land Acquisition Grant. Both properties have restricted uses limited to recreation. Several months ago, I personally conferred with the Division of Community Affairs, known as DCA, to ensure this information was accurate. The DCA explained that it was a possibility to request a permit through the Division of Community Affairs for temporary relief of that restriction. However, other barriers to suitability exist, such as a riparian zone along the Musquaxing Brook at Sherry Field. We would also be unable to expand the size of the parking lot at Sherry Field because it would involve removing vegetation within the wetlands. The current size of the parking lot would not allow for recreation use and DPW needs without significant interruption and inconvenience to the recreational programs. The Swim Club has a suitably sized parking lot. However, it is expected that remedial excavation of contaminated soil will begin in 2026 and the site will be unavailable for our use. The remedial work at the Swim Club cannot be done at the township's leisure as we are guided by a schedule set by the New Jersey DEP. As a reminder to the public, we have already been awarded an $83,000 grant to cover the costs associated with the remedial investigation and applied for a grant to cover up to 75% of the remediation work. In the spring of 2025, Mayor Calamari and I met with our counterparts and colleagues of several neighboring communities seeking a possible shared service to store equipment and vehicles along with moderate operations. We thank our neighboring towns for their willingness to assist. However, it was determined that their spaces were either not big enough, in a flood zone, exposing our equipment to possible damage, and/or exceeded the reasonable proximity to our town, leading towards lost work hours. A statement was made that the township should engage in shared services with other municipalities in order to reduce our number of vehicles or consider reducing our fleet altogether. I can assure you that every piece of equipment and/or vehicle in our DPW fleet is needed and used to continue providing the services for the township residents. The Township of Washington engages in numerous shared service agreements in order to save taxpayer money. As we exhausted the different options such as purchasing private property, assessing township-owned property, and recreational fields and shared service agreements with neighboring towns, it was then decided to pursue the leasing of privately owned space in the township. Currently, the township leases space at Our Lady of Good Counsel, OLGC, on Ridgeway Road. The lease is approximately $2,700 a month and expired at the end of November 2025. Space is not big enough to support all of our equipment located currently at OLGC and at Town Hall. The option to continue leasing from OLGC was not feasible due to the space needed to satisfy the needs of DPW. The only space available that was considered suitable for our needs, taking into consideration proximity, was Bethany Community Center. This was brought to the attention of the council. Mayor Calamari began the process of speaking with Bethany Community Center representatives on the possibility of a lease. Again, please understand that these conversations were considered confidential as it involved negotiations. The information was then brought to the council. Council ultimately grants or denies the approval of a lease agreement and/or contract. If the council votes in favor of the agreement or contract, this act gives the mayor the authority to sign the agreement. Throughout the discussions with Bethany Community Center representatives, it was understood by both parties that the safety of the public, considerations to their residents, and possible environmental impacts were of high importance. Since the inception of the idea to lease Bethany Community Center, the township has worked with our available professionals to judge the feasibility of the site. This included Beckmeyer Engineering, Boswell Engineering, New Jersey DEP, our own employees in the building department, zoning department, and police department. The township acknowledges that the leasing of the rear lot of the Bethany Community Center comes with challenges, concerns, questions, and displeasure. I'm certainly not conveying that this is the perfect option. However, it is the best option considering all of the more than reasonable approaches the township took to look for alternatives. The following is information from DPW Superintendent William Lawler regarding the intended use of the leasing area if approved by council this evening. Truck vehicle equipment storage. The DPW does not have any hazardous materials to store there. Picking up vehicles for the day's task between 7 a.m. and 7:30 a.m. Dropping vehicles off at the end of the workday at approximately 3 p.m. Possible exchange of vehicles or equipment as needed throughout the day. From March through October, the primary vehicles used by the DPW will be Ford 350 pickup trucks, one with an enclosed landscape trailer. Daily use of a sanitation truck, 1 week a month. There will be more sanitation trucks for household debris collection and an occasional Ford F450 and/or F550. November starts leaf collection, during which there will be more sanitation trucks in daily use, approximately 5, as well as front end loaders. 7 a.m. pickup, 3 p.m. drop off, and the leaf vac trailer. The exchange of leaves from the leaf vacuum to the garbage truck. End of December through mid-March, the sanitation trucks will not be used except on an occasional basis. In the event of snow, the DPW will need to pick up plow trucks that will be at Bethany. This is not meant to be an all-inclusive list, and there may be some intended use not listed. There are 25 DPW-related vehicles in our fleet, in addition to landscape trailers, 2 light towers, and a signboard. Not all of the DPW vehicles will be stored at Bethany. Some will still remain at Town Hall, parked near our old ambulance building. There are only 10 full-time DPW employees, so obviously the number of fleet vehicles in storage does not indicate that all of them will be driven through the rear access driveway daily. There will be no storage of salt, brine, hazardous materials, changing of oil, or mechanical work involving hazardous materials in the leased area. The DPW will be utilizing salt storage at the Bergen County Road Department in Paramus. Any small maintenance issues are intended to be performed at the old ambulance corps building, which will be storing DPW tools, small equipment, etc. There's no public access permitted to the leased area. Bethany Community Center employees and our guests are not permitted to use the rear access driveway. There'll be no debris collected by the garbage trucks left in the leased area. DPW does not collect household garbage, such as kitchen garbage. DPW employees will continue to take their breaks and lunchtime at Town Hall. There is no electricity within the leased area. There'll be no parking lot lights on outside of the time they are already programmed by Bethany Community Center. The gates will be locked when not in use. There should be limited noise at the location as DPW operations are Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 3:30 p.m., absent weather emergencies. There should be no smells associated with the DPW occupying the leased area. I do not see the likelihood of rodents outside of the natural habitat of wildlife in the area. If necessary, we will certainly take measures to contract with our pest control service to include the leased area. The lease is for 18 months for a monthly fee of $5,800 for 1.25 acres of space. The lease does allow for 3 two-month extensions past the 18-month agreement. That amount of time is for unforeseen circumstances that may delay construction, such as, God forbid, another epidemic like COVID-19. That epidemic had delay implications on the construction of the emergency service building. There is little to no reason to believe that construction will take longer than 18 months. The contractor has 365 days to substantially complete the construction from the notice to proceed, which was given on November 4th, 2025. The time frame has already been negatively impacted by the failure to pass the ordinance at the November 10, 2025 meeting. The contractor was scheduled to conduct site preparation and foundation digging the week of November 24, 2025. The contractor will be unable to begin until the township has secured a place to store the vehicles and equipment. The township is required under the lease agreement to restore the area back to its original state. This means removing the gate on Woodfield Road, the pavement driveway, the wind screening on the fence, and planting grass seed on any disturbed areas. The township will most likely leave the constructed fence in place for Bethany's use after the termination of the lease. The cost to construct the fence was approximately $18,000, and we used Bergen Fence. Bergen Fence holds the state contract for the service, which means the township received best pricing. The cost to install a permanent fence was similar to the cost to rent a fence. However, in addition, we received 2 gates and a pedestrian access door. A permanently installed fence will also hold up from being knocked over, more secure, and becoming disjointed. The wind screening was approximately $3,500. The intended purpose of the wind screening was to hide the view of our materials, equipment, and vehicles, hoping it would be more aesthetically pleasing than looking at DPW materials. Our only color options were black or green. The rear access driveway cost approximately $38,000. This was the lowest price obtained from reputable contractors. The original sketch shown to the council for the rear access driveway indicated the use of large gravel rocks, much like you would see at a residential construction site. Council President DeSena made the positive recommendation of using asphalt rather than gravel rocks because asphalt would eliminate possible mud and dirt being brought out to the roadway. Asphalt also being a better product that would hold up more efficiently than the gravel. All purchasing laws were followed when encumbering the funds to conduct the work of the fence and the access driveway to include state mandated documents, certificates of insurance, and approved funding sources. Both encumbrances were below the bid threshold. Multiple quotes were obtained where required, and the fence work was done under state contract. The Musquapsink Brook is a C1 waterway with a 300-foot riparian zone and a 25-foot wetlands area. There will be no vegetative disturbance within the area. There will be 0 structures constructed. The use is temporary and the parking lot is pre-existing. There are no zoning implications associated with the leased area that the town is required to take into account. The township is temporarily utilizing this area for a governmental function in order to improve our infrastructure. Becker Meyer Engineering and Boswell Engineering were consulted with in order to assure compliance with the township's Tier A stormwater general permit and New Jersey DEP regulations. There was no need to conduct an environmental study. However, environmental constraints were established. There's no need to confer with NJDOT as the streets are local streets to be driven by DPW vehicles that operate on our local streets daily as they do now. There's no need to conduct soil borings. There is no reason to believe that there will be sinkholes or any type of devastation to the roadways. The compensation of Woodfield and Devon roads is the same as Hudson and Manhattan Avenues. The administration and council agree that the Woodfield area is a beautiful neighborhood that attracts child activities and exercising. There's no reason to believe that wildlife will be affected in any way due to the township occupying the space. The brook and path will still be accessible with no impact to exercising, bike riding, children playing, or fishing. The Township DPW and Green Team do a fabulous job maintaining the path area and the waterway in that area as well. Stormwater management is an incredibly important topic. I am the township's municipal stormwater coordinator, which means it's my responsibility to ensure that the township complies with our Tier A stormwater permit regulations, facility inspections, training, reporting, and updating of our stormwater pollution prevention plan and our stormwater management plan. In order to assist me with these requirements, the township contracts with Aquilus, formerly known as Stormwater Compliance Solutions. DPW employees participate in mandatory yearly stormwater management training, and DPW conducts and completes monthly stormwater facility inspections at our DPW locations currently, which are Town Hall and Our Lady of Good Counsel. There are 3 different inspections documented. These documents are then reviewed by me. If the lease agreement is authorized, we will add these inspections at Bethany. These inspections are identified as the New Jersey DEP Form 9, Municipal Maintenance Yard and Other Ancillary Operations Form. Best Management Practices Inspection Log, Stormwater Permit Compliance Log, Please note that stormwater management at Bethany is no less or more important than stormwater management everywhere in the township. All township storm drains drain into the Musquapsik Brook, including the 3 storm drains that are currently located in the DPW yard at Town Hall. The area to be leased at Bethany has 0 storm drains. However, we will have hay bales, fabric socks, and a spill kit on premises. The hay bales and fabric socks are used to control sedimentation. It allows surface water to appropriately filter through while containing any sediment in the stormwater. If there's a spill of any kind, the township will follow the guidelines provided in the Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan for cleanup. If the lease agreement is authorized, the township will take before and after photos of the area in order to protect our interests. The township has already conferred with our insurance company and will be covered appropriately. The safety of pedestrians is of top concern. I've had several meetings with DPW Superintendent William Lauder to discuss safety when pursuing the feasibility of a lease at Bethany Community Center, to include most recently the concerns brought to our attention by the residents. I've also had several meetings with the entire DPW staff to convey the concerns from the residents regarding the increased activity of the trucks, speed and pedestrian safety in the area. On Thursday, November 20th, 2025, all DPW employees were required to watch the public hearing portion of the November 10th, 2025 council meeting. All DPW employees heard each concern brought up by the residents. Full-time DPW employees are required to have a valid CDL license. There are 10 full-time employees. Each full-time DPW employee is required to take online driver safety training every year. The township intends on installing signage at the access driveway requiring a stop by DPW employees before exiting across the sidewalk. There will also be signs at each side of the access driveway indicating the vehicle crossing the pedestrians on the sidewalk. DPW employees will be directed to avoid driving Woodfield Road or Devon Road as a cut through to other township streets and will be required to take the direct route to Pascack Road. The township will keep extremely close attention to this concern, maintain safety to a high regard. Mayor Carol Mallory and I met with representatives of Bethany Community Center on Monday, November 24, 2025. Mayor Calamari again requested the use of the front entrance at Bethany. Unfortunately, Bethany denied the use of the front entrance for our department vehicles. However, employees may use the front gate in their personal vehicles when coming and leaving work. Over the last several months, the mayor and I have had several conversations with the council regarding the need to lease and/or purchase space for the temporary storage and moderate operations of the DPW while constructing a new DPW building. Many of those conversations did take place in closed session because it involved negotiating. I totally understand, appreciate, and respect that residents feel that gave the perception of a lack of transparency. I can assure you these discussions were conducted this way due to our meeting formalities and not to hide information from the public. I can personally describe administration's conversations with the council to be collaborative, constructive, and having a positive exchange of ideas in order to address the pros and cons of purchasing or leasing any of the locations discussed. The council was informed that I intended on meeting personally with the homeowners on Oxford, Devon, and Woodfield in the immediate area route that will be driven by DPW employees to where an anticipated rear access driveway would be constructed. Additionally, council members requested that the township send certified letters to the property owners within 200 feet of the Bethany Community Center. The council had the opportunity to review the letter prior to it being mailed. The list was obtained from our tax assessor, and 37 certified letters were sent out on September 26, 2025. Some addresses that received letters were also addresses that I personally visited along with my administrative assistant. In September, prior to certified mailing, we visited 17 homes over the course of several days, going back to homes where there was no answer. I was not able to speak to each homeowner in person. However, I left my business card and some I spoke to over the phone. We created an Excel spreadsheet that was given to the council. The spreadsheet indicated the addresses visited and any concerns or feedback given to me and my assistant. Everyone we visited with were pleasant and seemed understanding. Although I did not leave any documents with any of the residents, I did have with me a draft plan showing the location of the intended rear access driveway. I advised each resident I spoke with about the fencing, gates, rear access driveway, wind screening, and most importantly, that this was temporary. I chose to make this notification personally in order to assure consistency in what was being told to the residents. My message has never changed from what was said individually to what I've said publicly. Some of the residents clearly expressed concerns regarding deterioration of the roadway, additional traffic accidents, speeding, children on bikes, walkers, removal of the driveway/gates upon completion of the DPW building, and asked why the front entrance could not be used, rather a rear access driveway. These concerns were shared with the mayor and council. On October 6, 2025, the council voted unanimously to pass Resolution 25-327, authorizing entry into a lease agreement with Bethany. The lease agreement was then sent to Bethany for their signature and approval. Within a few days, it was determined that the lease agreement involving the township was also needed to be passed by ordinance, not just resolution. On October 20th, 2025, the council voted unanimously to introduce ordinance 25-23, a first reading of an ordinance authorizing entry into a lease agreement with Bethany, with a second reading/public hearing scheduled for November 10th, 2025. After receiving full endorsement from the council to the lease by resolution, I moved forward with scheduling and completing the site work given time constraints and urgency based on existing contractual obligations and winter months approaching. I respect the residents' concerns and questions regarding why the site improvements were completed prior to the lease agreement being authorized by the ordinance. At the time, it was the most prudent measure to take in order to satisfy the best interests of all aspects of the entire DPW construction project. I understand that the construction of the rear access driveway and installation of the fence was needed only if the township entered into the lease agreement. However, the lease agreement was not required for the work to be performed. There were properly funded capital ordinances in place to pay for these improvements. These funded ordinances were discussed and approved during open discussion, not closed session. Based on the unanimous passage of Resolution 25-327 and the unanimous introduction of the first reading of Ordinance 25-23, I reasonably and responsibly believed that the unchanged lease agreement ordinance would be passed unanimously by the council on November 10th, 2025. My responsibility as township administrator is to carry out the policies and implementations of the mayor and council. Our intentions to make site improvements were known to the governing body. Bethany Community Center approved of entering onto the property to make the site improvements prior to the commencement date of the agreement. On November 10, 2025, only 3 council members were present for the second vote on Ordinance 25-23. The ordinance did not pass. It was necessary to reintroduce the lease agreement ordinance. The rereading and reintroduction of Ordinance 25-25, lease agreement with Bethany, was held on November 17, 2025. Ordinance 25-25 was successfully reintroduced, and the second rereading will be held this evening. For all intents and purposes, Bethany believed in good faith there was a signed lease agreement with the township based on the October 6, 2025 Resolution 25-327, allowing the site improvements. Formally, the mayor is unable to sign the agreement until authorized by ordinance. Since the inception of negotiations between Bethany and Mayor Calamari, the use of the front entrance by DPW work vehicles was never to be permitted. This evening, the council will have before them for approval Resolution 25-356, authorizing entry into a non-exclusive revocable license with Valley National Bank. This agreement will allow our employees to park their personal passenger-style vehicles in the last row of parking spots in the rear lot of Valley National Bank at no cost to the township during the construction period. The township is prohibited from parking or storing construction vehicles in the Valley lot. This is for passenger vehicles only and is being done to allow more parking spaces at Town Hall for our residents. In light of the outline above, Mayor Calamari and I respectfully request the passing of Ordinance 25-25, authorizing entry into the lease agreement with Bethany. It is imperative that the township have this location to immediately relocate vehicles and equipment as to prevent any further delay of construction at Town Hall. I'll now read a letter authored by Glenn Beckmeyer. He's our township engineer. Mr. Beckmeyer is a professional engineer. He's a professional planner. He's a certified municipal engineer, a certified floodplain manager, and a certified public works manager. Dear Mayor Calamari, there are 2 primary concerns associated with the temporary Department of Public Works DPW yard plan for the Bethany property. Environmental considerations and stormwater controls related to the adjacent waterway. Environmental considerations. Our initial meeting with the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection to discuss the potential use of this location occurred over a year ago. During that meeting, we described all ongoing activities at the existing DPW yard. The NJDEP identified which activities would be permitted at the Bethany site and which would not. For example, the storage of road salt was specifically prohibited. The current use of the Bethany, and that use will remain unchanged, with the primary function being the temporary storage of vehicles. Since the initial meeting, we have held multiple follow-up meetings with the NJDEP to outline and discuss the activities the township has undertaken. Full regulatory compliance. Well, to the Bethany parking lot is the Musquapsink Brook Administrative Code 7:9B, surface water quality. Musquapsink Brook is classified as an FW2 NTC1 water body. All activities have taken place outside of the water and not within the stream channel itself. Regulatory protections fall under the New Jersey Administrative Code 7:13, Flood Hazard Area Control Act. These rules impose restrictions on activities occurring within the 300-foot riparian buffer associated with the brook. All activities that have been performed by the town fall under the permit by rule. The permit by rule section of the New Jersey Administrative Code 7:13 Flood Hazard Area Control Act rules is a section of the act that describes certain activities that, when followed, are automatically permitted. When the permit by rule section of the New Jersey Administrative Code 7:13 Flood Hazard Area Control Act rules are followed under, no special permitting or permissions are required. The addition of the temporary driveway to connect the existing parking lot to Woodfield Road falls under permit by Rule 8. The addition of the temporary security fencing falls under permit by Rule 11. No disturbance has occurred with any regulated freshwater wetlands. If such disturbance had taken place, requirements under New Jersey State or Wetlands Protection Act rules would have applied. The Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan will be updated if the lease is authorized to reflect the temporary relocation of the Department of Public Works yard to the Bethany parking lot. As part of this update, all necessary spill prevention materials, such as spill kits, will be relocated to the temporary site to ensure immediate availability if needed. A review of the site indicates that the temporary DPW yard plan for the Bethany property lacks any existing stormwater management infrastructure. As an existing parking lot, the area already experiences sedimentation associated with such use. Sedimentation impacts, several erosion and sediment control measures will be implemented. These include the installation of hay bales, filter fabric, and fabric socks to minimize the amount of sedimentation. In addition, enhanced street cleaning procedures will be put in place to further prevent tracking or migration of sediment. Site improvement. The township mailed notification letters to all residents within a 200-foot radius of the proposed temporary improvements on September 26, 2025. In addition to the required notifications, the township also elected to provide notice to certain residents located outside the 200-foot radius whose properties lie along the anticipated travel route for township vehicles. These supplemental notifications were provided as a courtesy to those who may be affected by this temporary situation. Overall, the use of this site is strictly temporary. Any areas disturbed at the Bethany property will be restored to their original condition, and any temporary improvements will remain other than the chain link fence. Please contact this office should you have any questions or comments. Both my letter and Mr. Beckmeyer's letter, we have full intent to place on our website homepage by tomorrow morning. There was a few questions outside of my response. One, I do know that specific addresses of where we may have decided to purchase have been asked, but because they were set in closed session, I certainly do not feel comfortable releasing that information. I don't know if it would be any type of violation. If it's not, and I can release those addresses, I certainly would, but I can assure you multiple properties within were considered for purchase. All the appropriate insurance is in place if this lease takes effect. There were no permits required outside of a road opening permit that was obtained by the contractor that conducted the access driveway curb cut, which is Savelli and Son. And the start date of the lease will obviously be determined based on this evening. And Council President, that is my response to all the questions.
Thank you, Mr.
Concerns from the.
Thank you, Mr. DiCarlo. So before we proceed, one of the residents asked for a motion to table ordinance number 25-25. Does anybody have any interest in tabling the ordinance? Seeing none, we'll continue. Motion to adopt ordinance number 25-25 at second reading by title. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilman Casio.
Recuse.
Councilman Sears.
Yes.
Councilman Ullman.
Yes.
Councilwoman Velez.
Yes.
And Council President DeSena.
No. We good?
Yes.
We good?
You do.
Thank you, everyone.
Election Day, November 3rd, 2026.
We will remember in November.
And every November afterwards.
Thank you, everyone.
Finished. For me, it's not finished. It's my property. It's not your town.
Yeah, we take a 5-minute break, everyone? We take a 5-minute recess, everyone? Number 25-35, an authorized 2025 transfer of appropriations, $74,223.20. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Any discussion?
Just one. The 4,000 for the fire department. What's going on there since it's a brand new building, relatively brand new?
Nothing, I'd have to look at the ledger that I gave you. There's nothing neglectful, nothing like I can attribute to something that was improperly built. Let me try and get to the ledger for it. Pretty sure I gave it to you. I can't think off the top of my head what the big expense, but it was basically utilizing the balances of all the other accounts. So when we did over encumber the sub account for the maintenance of the building, we eventually ran out of money in the control because we had to utilize the balances of the other items within the control. I'm trying to get to the specific ledger. There's like 100 pages of vehicle repairs, that's why.
Generator maintenance, OEM replacement by the
What page?
HVAC. It's page 1, but
Oh, here we go.
you got
Okay.
that so far deep.
So the contracts for Whalen and Ives, that was accounted for. The exterminator fees, that was accounted for. The kitchen suppression was accounted for. We did have to do some HVAC stuff that was not accounted for. And I sent all of the maintenance agreements to Whalen and Ives for them to review from us. And there was that were actually under the maintenance. He sent me a whole report and it showed me what was covered and what wasn't. And 10 things weren't covered. We moved a thermostat to help reduce energy use. It was in an office. Actually, if you remember from our tour, it was right outside the kitchen, and it was the one room that we couldn't get in. So there was a lot of, when it says OEM replacement parts, it's obviously something to do with the manufacturer, had nothing to do with actually the Office of Emergency Management. The generator maintenance contract, that was accounted for. There was sprinkler things that were unanticipated. Elevator service we accounted for. There was JCT Solutions. That is the vendor that we use for like the key fobs and the door access system. That was an unintended expense. Something was broken, but again, it was outside of the warranty. So that was almost $1,000. The load bank test was accounted for. So we didn't go over by $4,000. We went over by a little bit. And then the rest getting up to the 4,000 is for anything that may happen in the last month.
Okay.
So hopefully that answers your
Yes, thank you.
question. You're welcome.
Roll call?
I have a question.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Sears.
On the vehicle maintenance, $21,000. Uninspected police vehicle repairs, what are they?
So I gave you the ledger for the police vehicle repairs. I don't know them, individually. Right now, that control line is over by about 8,000 to 9,000. So we asked for 21,000 to make sure we can get through the end of the year. It's quite common in December when we have these garbage trucks running, hours and hours every day to keep up with the leaves, sometimes 6 days a week, going down Route 80. And I could tell you one garbage truck.
The garbage trucks are okay, but tell me about the police vehicles.
Right, but it's the same control line. So that's why I'm trying to explain to you why I asked for 21,000 in case DPW vehicles go down. I want to have enough in the control.
So the 8,000 shortage is from DPW vehicles, not police vehicles.
No, mostly the overage of the $8,000 was from police. I'd have to go through the ledger like I just did with Mr. Ullman to see. I do know from talking with Captain Pecora the last few days, there has been a lot of repairs, unexpected repairs needed to what we would call the outside job cars. Like I call them the side job cars, but it would be the cars that are not in their regular fleet, in their first line fleet. It would be the vehicles that are used for the outside jobs. So again, I'd have to go through specifically and look. I'm sorry, I don't know off the top of my head. But as you can see, there was a couple of expensive repairs in September. One for $1,600 for car 41, $2,600 for car 45. And their vehicle maintenance line is a lot less than the DPW. I know DPW starts off with like 90 in their line for repairs. I don't remember off the top of my head what the police do, but it's a lot less. And then, then there's the fire department that's also with.
On the $10,000 for electricity, are we making any attempts to put motion switchers in the emergency service building? Some kind of a light reduction?
So I have not specifically done anything to put in any type of motion sensors, but I do know when we were talking about this a few years ago, it's all LED, low energy lighting.
Yeah,
Like,
that was in the big,
Yeah.
like that, but I'm talking about,
I mean, most of it, we're not over by 10,000, but, we should be out at obviously the heat of the summer where the electricity is really being used. I can attest that every time I go to the building, the ESB building, of course, it's a big building. The temperatures are very low, very appropriate. The energy use seems, very reasonable. The lights are off and everything. But that increase in electricity killed us in June.
Yeah, that's what I was going to mention also.
It killed us. And if you remember during budget time, it was hard, to kind of estimate. That's why if you look, like 90% of this is all our utility stuff, water, gas, electricity, things that were hard to, estimate. Obviously nothing was used. Nothing is here because of frivolous spending. And I know you're not accusing that. I'm just saying that, the elections we all knew about, the vehicle maintenance we just talked about, the UCC, that was for the stipends for the, for the inspectors. The water, again, I couldn't believe
public
it.
service, gas and electric, they're offering a lot of grants to do energy efficiencies, like what Mr. Cummings wanted.
Yeah,
Wonder if
so
we can talk to the grant writer to see if he can look into getting some type of grant to apply that to the emergency service building.
we certainly can, but if you remember, we had, I forget the name of the company, but they were specifically contracted with PSE&G, and they came and did a run through of this building, the ESB. Well, let's just say it was about 6 months ago, and they said there was nowhere to go. There was nothing, to improve. But we can, certainly still look into it again. But
I mean,
the USEB is big, but it was built
right.
pretty energy efficient. And even here, I was hoping there'd be something new.
No,
here.
Mr. Cumming did a lot of work on the mechanicals and stuff in this building, so
Yeah.
I believe they're all like within 5-7 years old in this building.
Yeah,
And then if you remember, we met the one individual, I think at the league, Mr. Sears, last year, and we met with him. And pretty much like no one was interested when they hear how recent either the ESB building was built. They know that it would be a waste of their time to come because there's not going to be any improvements, but doesn't mean we still can't try.
thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Any other questions, anybody? Roll call?
Councilman Casio,
Yes.
Councilman Sears,
Yes.
Councilman Ullman, Councilwoman Velez,
Yes.
Council President DeSenza.
Yes. Resolutions consent agenda. The following items have been determined to have the unanimous consent of the council and will be enacted in one motion. Should any item require independent consideration, any council member may have such item removed from the consent agenda. Would anybody like any resolutions removed from the consent agenda?
I'd like 357.
357. Any others?
No.
Okay. Resolution number 25-352, authorize refund of tax overpayment Q4 to CoreLogic, various blocks and lots in the amount not to exceed $15,550.69. Resolution number 25-353, authorize refund the remaining balance of performance guarantee and engineering escrow, block 3404, lot 4, in the amount not to exceed $7,776. Resolution number 25-354, authorize refund of tax overpayment, quarter 4, 785 Washington Avenue, block 2202, lot 11, in the amount not to exceed $3,565.65. Resolution number 25-355, authorize the endorsement and filing of a 2026-2027 BCC DBG application in the amount of $19,600 for ADA improvements to the library. Resolution number 25-356, authorize entry into and the mayor to execute a non-exclusive revocable license with Valley National Bank. Do I have a motion to approve consent agenda resolutions as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilman Casio.
Yes.
Councilman Sears.
Yes.
Councilman Omen.
Yes.
Councilwoman Velez.
Yes.
Council President DeSenza.
Yes. Resolution number 25-357, authorize the award of a non-fair and open public contract for soil excavation and backfilling at 450 Pascack Road to Renuva Environmental Company in the amount not to exceed $28,960.04. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. Does this contract encompass the remediation of all known environmental issues at the site?
Yes, sir.
And then who is managing the work? Is it the administration, our engineers, LISCO?
Let's go.
LISCO has oversight.
Yes.
So when I looked at Renova and then looked at GWS and there was another one that you provided, S&H, there were sort of things that were not included or included in one. So for instance, the mark out of utilities was in GWS and there's no reference to it in Renova. There's a discussion of certified, is it DGA clean fill? And that's not referenced in Renova. Portable toilet, erosion control. So, those were in these other contracts that we're not awarding, but not in Renova. So if they were needed in those contracts, are they needed for Renova to complete the work?
So, did you want me to I'll try and give a good stab at your question. Answer it almost in a roundabout way. So, LISCO is the one that obtained these quotes and made the recommendation to us on the lowest, most responsible price. So I wouldn't be able to specifically tell you that. Understandably good points. I can tell you that the utilities have been already terminated there, so I don't know if maybe that wasn't needed. The excavation is kind of behind the house, so like on the west-south end of it. So I guess the best way to answer you is I'm trusting that when LISCO made its recommendation to us, it was all encompassing of the work that needs to be done there. So we are not, just so you understand why it's coming before you, we are not creating a purchase order. We're not paying for this. It's being paid out of the escrow. But, in speaking with Ms. Bailey and our QPA, we thought it was most responsible to bring a resolution before the council. So we had documentation of how this process was made. So speaking with Ms. Bailey, it sounds like we're still responsible for, adhering to the requirements of local public contract law. So that's why it actually came before you. I know that goes a little beyond what you asked. I can't specifically say, don't worry about it. I think it's okay. But I can tell you that, LISCO is managing it, and I have full faith that, they made their recommendation based on what's needed at the site.
So how much money is available?
I think the escrow was $250, Ms. Bailey.
That's right.
It was $250, and I think the billing, again, I don't like throwing out numbers, but I think the billing up to this point was maybe say $20,000 or less. even less.
I also don't want to throw out, but
Yeah.
that sounds like the
Right.
ballpark, yeah. you know.
So, and then, and they're, is it Mr. Zackham? Their attorney is well aware of all these costs as well. And I think this whole project, is not only $28,000. There was, did I send you the email that had the breakdown of the entire cost? Obviously, Lisco is charging as well. So I think the whole,
But that's all coming out of the escrow.
all coming out of the
Services
escrow,
and
the township's not paying.
Yeah, we're not paying, well, we did pay it already, but it's coming out of the escrow.
It's the seller.
It's our money.
It's the seller's money.
It's seller's money now.
Sue, I'm certainly not blaming you. I just don't remember if I sent you just the attachments or if you got the email that went along with it. But I'm sure
So
if I
It
did.
would be in
One
here,
problem
whatever I
project was
had, yeah.
included.
Yeah, I want it, again,
The escrow.
don't hold me to it, but I think the
We
whole,
need an RA.
the whole excavation and remediation there is roughly like $83,000 or $84,000. But Lenovo specifically is getting paid the $28,916.04.
And if they exceed,
It comes out of the escrow.
It comes out of the escrow, yeah. Oh, here we go. There is a budget sheet. You don't have the email, but you do have the budget sheet which lists the 5 tasks. And at the bottom, it's total of $83,457.66 right there.
Oh, yeah, those, it's landscaped, it's going the opposite way.
Right. So the subcontractor is under task 2, and it's the 6 lines labeled as subcontractor.
so we're paying Renova, or
We're not paying.
we're not paying.
We're not
Renova-
exchanging any money.
Renova is getting 28
Yes,
of 83.
Yes.
that's how I understand it.
Yeah, that is correct.
Yeah.
If I could ask Mr. Allman a question. Mike, are you seeing a difference in the 2 contracts that one is not doing something and the other one is?
I don't know that I don't know enough about it, but I was reading them, they talk about certified DGA, which is like I believe the aggregate that they're supposed to
Dense
be.
graded aggregate, yes.
And the 2 that didn't win make specific reference to it, and the Renova doesn't. So, I don't know if that's good, bad, or indifferent.
Well, at the end of the day, Lisco's got to get us the response action outcome letter from DEP. So until we have that from the LSRP, which is Lisco,
Yeah.
nobody's getting paid.
Well, if we're dealing with Lisco, again, my question is dealing with Lisco is, he does certain things and all of a sudden we get another bill, he needs another certain amount of money. So, my fear is that one is giving us something and the other is not.
It's a total of
And I
83,000.
don't want to come back.
It's a bigger number than what's in the resolution. And as
Yes,
long as that bigger
because-
number is covered by the escrow,
It is.
it's fine. Luckily, the council had the foresight to ask for the escrow because we'd be out another $84,000.
It's a good turn.
Let you spend it all.
Any other questions, Mike?
Hey, that was me that sent you those messages.
No.
Roll call?
He's got one of those secret servers in the
Councilman
basement.
Casio,
Yes.
Councilman Sears.
Yes.
Councilman Allman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Velez,
Yes.
Council President DeSenza.
Yes. Motion to adjourn to the conference agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next meeting of the Township Council will be on Monday, December 15th, 2025, beginning at 7 PM. All right, conference agenda, December 2nd, 2025. Under council ordinances and legislation, the towing resolution follow-up.
Do you want to do anything on this one?
So this was discussed in the last meeting.
This was discussed at the last meeting. Mike had some questions about the free towing provided in the ordinance to the Township of Washington. He didn't understand if that was contractually required by the state, or is that something that they give us as a perk to give them a contract?
I remember it kind of being like a perk from what I.
Well, Mike had
remember.
asked, is it required to be in the language by the state, or is it,
It's not required. It isn't required, and I think Mike also asked, Councilman Allman also asked me to take a look at all of the ordinances comprehensively to see if there were any other instances where private parties were required to waive fees and costs, and there are no such ordinances. So I think that certainly if the council wants to revisit this issue, I know that the clerk had talked to me about somebody else wanting to revisit another issue. So I would think that, I can certainly put a list together of, at the council's direction, but I do believe that there's a time constraint on this particular amendment in terms of licensing these
It's a yearly,
particular
right?
entities.
It's a yearly
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, so that's my only comment on that. But
I'm okay with moving forward with the perk. Because it's not, like Mr. DeCarlo said, it's not for any of our larger trucks. It's only for vehicles that we've ever used this, correct?
I'm pretty confident.
That's correct.
Yeah.
It is.
It's not for the dump trucks or anything of that. It's only for like a police car or
They're
something like that.
$1,000
Yeah.
almost. So,
Yeah.
And,
Okay.
and that's just in town, I think.
That's just in
Purpose,
town,
right?
yeah. I'm okay with leaving it the way it is. Ms. Velez?
yes, agreed.
Mr. Sears?
Yes.
Mr. Cassio?
Sure.
Mr. Allman?
No,
All right.
no.
So we have a resolution
I'll
here?
put- No, I'll put the resolution on for next
Yeah,
week.
you don't
I didn't
need-
bring
you
it
don't
with me
need-
tonight. 'cause
All
I
right.
didn't get that
So we'll
far.
put this on for the 15th then. Oh,
The
you
only,
have?
Yeah, well,
let me just make a
that's
comment.
not
The only
very-
thing,
Don't have the right date or any of that stuff.
Municipal.
And like Ms. Bailey had said too, is that one of the officers said that there are some changes that he would like to look at next year before we do the renewal in the ordinance itself, tighten it up a little bit. So at that time, if there is something else you want to change,
Okay.
we could do it all in one lump sum instead of doing it in piecemeal.
Recreation fees, men's softball. Mr. Scuderi asked that, Mr. Peter, that the men's softball fee be raised to $95.
Yes, I believe right now it's $80. He didn't put that in his email, but I seem to recall that from our conversation. Right now, we put the request in high, so we don't have to come to the council for every $5 increment. But for this coming year, it would be $85 instead of the 80, because the men's softball would like us to purchase new bases, is my understanding. And so it might even drop back down, because that's a one-time purchase, obviously. So this next year's rate, the 2026 rate, will be $85.
I thought Mr. Scuderi asked for 95.
95.
95.
That's to put in, so we don't have to come to you for every $5
Oh, okay,
increase.
all right.
Yeah.
I just saw men's softball
Yeah.
to be changed to
Make a maximum.
$95.
I understand how you
Okay.
came up with that, but.
All right, I'm okay with it. Everybody else okay with it?
I'm good.
Okay, so
We'll have
All right,
to,
we'll put it on for
change
next-
the ordinance.
we'll have to change the ordinance for the 15th.
What is the amount that you want?
95.
95.
Yeah,
Maximum, not to
Right.
exceed
Yeah,
95.
yeah, they're all in there that way now. Yeah, thank you.
Miscellaneous 2025 Sindai meeting, 2026 reorg meeting date. Sue, what say you?
I would just like to know when you would like to have a reorg meeting. We have not traditionally done it on January 1.
I do not
Um,
want to have it on January 1.
Okay, that's fine.
Everybody okay with that? I'd like to make that decision.
you can have it, I'm not gonna be there.
It's a
That's up to you.
Thursday,
I would
Friday,
make it,
I believe
can we make it the
it's,
following Monday?
Well, we do January 5th, I think, is the next day, which would be a regular reorg meeting like we've
Always
always done.
done, yeah, that's fine.
But I don't like making that decision without
That's
asking.
fine. Make it to the next Monday.
Everybody's okay with the
Yeah.
5th?
Everybody's good with the 5th?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Motion, yes,
We'll
Mr.
go
Allen.
back to the fees for rec.
It's only men's softball.
No, I understand that, but is it worth, since we're putting a cushion on those, on men's softball, to put a cushion on the other ones?
They all have cushions right now.
Yeah, I mean, we might be getting close on some
Okay.
because it's been years, but yeah, we tried, especially at a $5 one, it
Okay.
typically doesn't go.
Yeah, we did put cushions.
Perfect. All right.
Resolution number 25-358, Affordable Housing Litigation, Personnel, Police Department. The Township Council anticipates that an open session will not be necessary after the closed session. Motion to enter into closed session.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. Let's wait for Ricky to come down.